Hello everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So around 2012 a movie came out called Chronicle and it stirred up a lot of conversation. It was probably the first time in quite a while that an actual, found footage movie had stirred up water cooler conversations. It was also made by two relative newcomers in Hollywood, Josh Trank and Max Landis. They would have totally different outcomes of this movie where, Josh Trank would ride high on this and, make the movie Fantastic Four that everybody liked and thought it was the best version of, Fantastic Four that ever could be made. He said with his sarcasm hat on. As Max Landis would continue to write quite excellent movies such as Victor Frankenstein, Bright, which apparently not a lot of people like, but I do, Mr. Right, and his best movie, American Ultra. A lot of very good movies, but nothing that really, stood out when it comes to the box office and stuff like that. But nevertheless, I would like to see them team up together once again. Maybe they can create something new and fantastic, but at least I know that Josh Trank regrets making Fantastic Four. His bank account probably says so, and his sanity also probably says so. By the way, is this the greatest found footage movie that has ever been made? I think so. The other very good found footage movie that I think has been made is Troll Hunter, the Norwegian movie. But What We Do in the Shadows is arguably a better movie, but I would consider that a mockumentary rather than a found footage movie. So if we're counting it in that way, I would definitely say that Chronicle is the best found footage movie that I've ever seen. But it also is so good that it almost didn't need to be a found footage movie. But we're gonna, iron out all these wrinkles before this review is over. Let's find out how good it is, shall we? This is Chronicle. Andrew's life, it isn't exactly sunshine, lollipops, rainbows and waterfalls. He has a dad who is an alcoholic and, beats him sometimes. He has a mother who is very sick and he's a social recluse and not very popular in school and being sort of bullied and stuff like that. He doesn't really have any friends. Not even his cousin Matt, he wants to really hang out with him that much. So he tags along with Matt to this party and where they meet up with a third guy called Montgomery. Now Montgomery is sort of the more popular guy in school, and so is sort of Matt, who is this sort of jock guy. And Montgomery tells them that he has found something outside of Seattle where they are, and they go to this underground cave-like thing, and there they find something that is blue and glow in the dark, and they dare them to touch them and stuff like that. So they touch them, and once they do that, they have the ability to, create telekinesis, and in time they're also able to start, flying and stuff like that. They eventually kind of becomes superheroes. In the beginning, it's all fun and giggles, and they, pull some pranks on, some unsuspecting shoppers at the mall and stuff like that. The teddy bear thing and moving the car and stuff like that. But they want to do this, without hurting anybody, and, accidentally Matthew, hurts a guy that is, honking on them and, being an asshole. So they're, trying to set up rules for this thing, because the more they use this ability they have, the stronger they get. So will they use these abilities for good? Can maybe Matthew become a more popular and less socially awkward guy because of it? Or will, the power corrupt them? We shall see. Now, the best thing about this movie is probably the reason why they are filming this, because Matthew has bought this camera and he just wants to film things. He doesn't really exactly know why he's doing it. He just, filming things without really having a goal with it. But we don't only see this movie from his camera and his viewpoint, we also see it from, the blogging girl's camera and, security cameras and police cameras that will be important later. So it is a mishmash of different things, which, I guess is why they decided to do this as a found footage movie, because if they would have inserted different aspects of, different cameras and stuff like that, it would have looked weird if this would have been, made as a traditional movie. Now the thing is also that this movie differs itself a lot from, the usual shtick that the found footage movie has. Josh Trank just skips the long and boring, introduction of the movie. After like maybe 10 minutes, not even that maybe, they are, touching glowy things in the caves and stuff like that. He just said, fuck it, let's go straight to the good things. We also doesn't have all of these, shaky cam nonsense, which I absolutely hate, because Matthew is using his telekinesis thing to control the camera so that the camera is sort of, flowing around, making these incredible shots, especially the thing in the clouds when they are, kicking the balls to each other. I thought that was absolutely an excellent idea, and it made the movie look badass. But couldn't you just have done that in a traditional movie, I keep thinking, because there are so many still shots, there are so many, steady shots in this movie, which usually doesn't happen in this movie. It made the movie feel less like a found footage movie and more like an actual movie. So why did you have to do this as a found footage movie? I don't know, maybe it's a budget thing. This movie clocks in at less than 90 minutes, and in those 90 minutes, Josh Trank and Max Landis are able to give us a complete story with several characters with layers. We have story arcs, we have character arcs, except for the dad. That is one of the few things I didn't really like about this movie, considering, well, he was an asshole in every single sequence that he was in. Couldn't you at least have, shown him, caring for somebody for a little bit of a while? I know he, was crying at the hospital and stuff like that, but then he just turned it around to be, an asshole again. Couldn't you have shown him, like a flashback or something like that when, Dad wasn't an asshole, when he was a firefighter who was, a proud man who took care of his family and, was a man that could look himself in the mirror and say, I am a good man and stuff like that. He just all the time is an absolute mega douche, and I don't know. It's a small thing, but I just wish that the dad could have been at least good for, one scene or two. This movie is also kind of villain-free when you're thinking about it. It is just different shades of grey, and what happens in this movie and what's ultimately causing the big rift isn't because somebody is evil or somebody was meant to become unhinged or something like that. It happened because A, B, C, D and E happened. If just D wouldn't have happened, maybe we could have had a different movie. Because I like the fact that all of these characters are different shades of grey. It's a great idea. And I also like the psychological bits that they're presenting to this movie. And I wish they could have, maybe explored that a little bit more with maybe a longer runtime, but I don't know. Maybe in that case we would have gotten sick of the found footage bit of the whole thing, because as we all know, found footage movies are always best in small servings. By no means is Chronicle a superhero movie or something like that. It borrows certain elements from the superhero genre, but very little, and it is not to be taken as either an action movie or a superhero movie. It borrows, things from the genre, but it doesn't use them as those genres do. I think they went a little overboard in the end. Not a lot, but a little. And I also think that they kind of betrayed the own rules they set up for the whole thing, but I don't know, I probably missed something. So do I recommend this movie? Oh yes, if you've never seen it, do see it. Do I think this movie could have been even better as an R rating? Oh yes, because I think this movie felt real. It had that real grittiness to itself, and I think it cheapens the effect by having this PG-13 movie. But I guess they needed that to reach a bigger audience or something like that, but I think still this movie probably should have been a R. Not a hard R, but an R. With cursing and especially blood, I think would have made this movie even better. I hadn't seen this movie in 10 years until I saw it this week, and I will say that it is as good as it was when I saw it back around its release date. I think that the special effects have aged somewhat, but the story is still so good. I can overlook the lackluster CGI and stuff like that. It is still okay when you see, them stopping the baseball or the teddy bear thing and stuff like that. It still looks decent. And also, this is how you use Dane DeHaan. This is the kind of role he was made to play, not fucking Valerian in the City of a Thousand Planets, and what is arguably the worst casting decision of all time. I will never forgive them, and I will never understand how they came up with the idea that this guy should play this guy. The only thing they kind of having in common is having a dick and having the same hair color. Except for that, nothing. But I've said my piece with Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. In this movie, he's fucking great. Actually, most people in this movie is actually fucking great. And you don't know where this one's going. It's a pretty unpredictable movie. If you have seen it already, there is no need to re-watch it. You will not, find anything new or something like that. Even though, when I was through watching this movie, I said to myself, I really could have used a sequel for this one. They left enough things open that they could have, explored more things about, the blue things in the cave and stuff like that, because we never really find out anything about that. We leave this movie with the majority of questions unanswered, and there is enough left on the table for a sequel to not only could have, worked, it could have been really, really good. So if you've never seen it and are okay with found footage movies, you must see this movie. If you hate found footage movies like I do, there is a pretty good chance that you'll think this movie is actually kind of great. I have this theory that good found footage movies are the ones that are not horror movies, but are, sci-fi or action or thriller and stuff like that. Horror movies usually have the stench of grisly death, but this one is not a horror movie, not by a long shot. And I really recommend this movie. Do I think that the rating could have been even better if the movie could have gotten its R rating and its more darker themes that was the original idea for this movie? Yes, I do believe so, but on the other hand, this was a pretty damn good movie anyway. Chronicle is an unpredictable, well-written, suspenseful movie which I gives 83 points. It didn't need to be a found footage movie. The story is strong enough, and I think that the performances are very good, and I think that this movie is very well made, and if you have never seen it, do see it. And I'll see you next time from, well, so and so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.